Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're glad you are here. My name is Bill Burge, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm serving as this morning's worship associate. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, to encourage spiritual growth, and to promote social responsibility while we care for the earth. Welcome to those at home who are joining us on Zoom today. Anyone attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can stay in contact. And I have one announcement. I think Rev Tara has one or two as well. It's picnic day. After coffee hour, make your way down to the Ferry Beach Retreat and Conference Center in Saco. We'll be in the Grove where there's plenty of parking. Don't forget your sandwich and a chair. If you have questions, see Connie Cross, and see you there. Yeah, there she is. All right, you have something?
Three very brief announcements from me. Number one is whoever left delicious backyard peaches in my office last week and didn't say who they're from, thank you very much. I've been enjoying them. Number two, yesterday we had a gorgeous celebration of life for longtime member Bobby Keppel. That's where all the flowers came from. I want to express my deep gratitude to the team of amazing folks who put on a gorgeous reception. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It was gorgeous. And you will also notice in the foyer there is a table of Bobby memorabilia, scarves and pins and stickers, lots of bisexual activist things. If you would like to take something home with you, please do so. There's also lots of guitar picks and auto harp picks and music things. We love the idea of Bobby being spread out all over the place. So please take a look.
Now we invite you to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones so that we can all be fully present. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee or tea and stay for conversation, or head down to the hall to join for brown bag lunch. Those on Zoom can stay on and connect with one another. Now let us center our hearts and minds with the sound of the singing bowl.
Good morning. Good to see you. I am Reverend Tara. My pronouns are they and them, and I serve as the minister of this congregation. This morning we have gathered on this beautiful day, and we will reflect together on risk-taking and how it relates to our Unitarian Universalist faith. Risk is part of being human in the world, and it's part of being a spiritual human in the world. At this moment in our country's history, it feels to some of us that living our UU faith and values in our daily lives outside of these walls puts us at more risk than we have had to face before. How do we discern when we are called to take a risk and when to choose protection, safety, or comfort? Are the answers the same when thinking about individual versus institutional risk-taking? How do our intersecting identities and layers of privilege impact these decisions? As usual, you will probably leave with more questions than answers. Maybe no answers at all. This is by design. We come to this place as seekers, questioners, and meaning makers. We come to practice, to think, and feel in community. It is good to be together. After the lamplighting ritual, our children and youth will join Emily and Clay at the end of the long hallway for an RE session exploring perspective and how we see the world through photography. Babies and toddlers are welcome both in the nursery with Lex and Liam or here in the sanctuary. As we arrive here to this time and this place set apart, made sacred by our gathering, let us take a breath. Come and be welcome. You are joyfully called to worship.
As we light our sanctuary chalice this morning, those joining us on Zoom are invited to light a chalice or candle near you to connect us more deeply with one another. The flaming chalice was first used by the Unitarian Service Committee as a symbol of life-saving refuge for people fleeing persecution in Europe. As we light this chalice, we invoke the love that called people to put their lives at risk to save others. May we be vessels of life-saving welcome.
We light our second candle this morning, candle of community. Often we lift to the light a particular pain or challenge in our community or the wider world. This morning we light our candle for inner peace, that we might remember a well-regulated nervous system is one of the greatest gifts we can bring to the world at this time. Will you take a breath with me? Our opening hymn is number 360 in your gray book or up on the screen. Here we have gathered. Dale will play it through once, and then you're invited to rise in spirit or body and join our voices in song. Our time for all ages this morning is the parable of the trapeze. Yeah. The author of this parable describes feeling like his life is a series of trapeze swings. How many of you have been on a trapeze before? Really? Okay. Any of our kids up here, have any of you been on a trapeze before? That's probably a good thing. You're basically either holding on to a trapeze bar, swinging along, or you're hurtling through the air across space between two trapeze bars. Most of the time, most of us spend our lives hanging on for dear life to the trapeze bar of the moment. Some might call it white knuckling. It carries us along at a certain steady rate of swing, and we might feel pretty in control of our lives. At the steady rate of swinging with both hands on the trapeze, I know most of the right questions and even sometimes a right answer. But every once in a while, as we're merrily, or even not so merrily, swinging along, we look out into the distance, and what do we see? Another trapeze bar swinging toward us. It's empty. There's no hands on it. And in that place inside me that knows things, I know this trapeze bar has my name on it. It is my next step, my growth, my aliveness, what the world is asking from me. And to get to that bar, I have to release my grip on the present, on the one I'm holding, and go for it. Move to the new one. And each time this happens in life, I hope and I pray that I won't have to let go of the old bar completely before I grab the new one. But have you ever seen someone with one hand on one trapeze bar and the other hand on the other trapeze bar just hanging there? Not a great look. Not a great look. In our knowing place, most of us, I think, know and understand that we have to let go of the first bar completely in order to catch the second. We have to hurdle across space, and it's a risk, right? It's risky to do that. Each time I do that in my life, not really with a trapeze bar, but with decisions, I am usually filled with terror. I'm an anxious person. It doesn't matter that almost all the times in my life I've hurtled across a void, I've usually made it. And the times I haven't, my community has caught me or helped me get back on my feet after I've fallen. But each time I'm afraid I'm going to miss the bar. But sometimes, somehow, I just know, we just know, that to keep hanging on to that old bar is not an option. So for an eternity that can last a microsecond or 1,000 lifetimes, I take a risk and soar across the void. There is no guarantee you'll catch the bar, of course, and that might mean that sometimes we don't take the risk. Not everyone can afford to fall. But often we do take the risk, and we catch the bar. And we just might find that hurtling through the void, we just might learn how to fly.
In a few moments, some of us will leave the sanctuary to enjoy religious education programming. But first, I invite our lamplighter, Calvin, to join me in the pulpit. A lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp and then go forth to RE spaces where they will light the chalice there. I invite those going to RE to follow the lamplighter as we carry the flame, expanding our sacred space.
Would you join me now in the spirit of prayer? Today we share in a blessing for losers, risk takers, and failures far and wide. Blessed are they who fall in the mud, who jump with gusto and rip the pants, who skin the elbows and bruise the ego, for they shall know the sweetness of risk. Blessed are they who make great mistakes, whose intentions are good but impact has injured, who know that hot sense of regret and ask for mercy, for their hearts will know the gift of forgiveness. Blessed are they who have seen a D or an F or a C or any letter less than perfect, who are painfully familiar with the red pen and the labels as less than, for they know the wisdom in the imperfect. Blessed are they who try again, who dust off, who wash up, who extend the wish for peace, who return to sites of failure, who are dogged in their pursuit, for they will discover the secret to dreams. Blessed are they who refuse to listen to the naysayers, for their hearts will be the houses for hope. Blessed are they who see beyond the surface of another, for they will be able to delight in the gift of compassion. Blessed are they who stop running the race to help a fellow traveler, who pick up the fallen, who stop for injured life, for they shall know the kindness of strangers. Blessed are they who wildly, boldly abandon winning, for they shall know the path of justice.
Now is when we engage in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts support our ministry and our work in the broader community. Each week, 1/3 of our plate is given to a local nonprofit organization who's also working to advance our shared values. This month, we're sharing the plate with Greater Portland Family Promise. The Family Promise helps families struggling or experiencing homelessness to achieve sustainable independence. The Greater Portland Family Promise collaborates with local faith communities and other social service organizations to create a community-based response. Everyone can donate now in person or through our website's Donate or Share the Plate button. If online, be sure to specify the Give to Plate option on Breeze. If you are visiting for the first time this morning, please know that your presence is gift enough. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received.
This morning's reading is an excerpt from an essay by Robert Spurko from the book Love at the Center, Unitarian Universalist Theologies. Robert was present in the UU congregation in Knoxville, Tennessee, on the day of a shooting there in 2008. He writes, "We must live with no guarantees. We must be called to pay a high price for love. All we can do is be prepared to love as the times require. By contrast, we do know the high cost of living without love: shame, guilt, silence, death. Ultimately, we need to practice risk. The more we practice, the better our skills in discernment become. We need to prepare for those moments when we have to take action, when the risks of not acting are greater than those of action. We need practice, especially with institutional risk. Many of us might accept a level of personal risk. Are we also ready to accept institutional risks? That determination takes careful group discernment, but also collective boldness. We have sometimes sheltered our institutions beyond individual risk-taking. It is worth thinking about when those rules might be reversed. I'll be honest, being laid so utterly bare to the whims of chance is soul-shaking. And I can tell you that after such moments, what is salvific is community. And this suggests a further insight. It is not for everyone, as the Reverend Kendall Gibbons says, to stand in front. It is still risky and still loving to hold those who do. Our faith needs fools for love, wise fools, but fools nonetheless. And it also needs those who can hold them in love, who can lift them when they fall. By calling us into wider circles of community, love empowers us to act. Any action puts us at risk. The feedback spiral of love, risk, and trust, of relationship and community, becomes the ground for actions that are necessary for mutual liberation. And while we know that we will never arrive at a perfect, beloved community, we call it into being whenever we accept risk and act in love, stronger and stronger with each call.
What does it mean to act ethically in a world of expediency, to stand for justice in a world of exploitation, to act with compassion in a world of indifference, cynicism, and despair. Sharon Welch, Unitarian Universalist theologian and ethicist, asks this question on the first page of her seminal work, A Feminist Ethic of Risk. It's a question many UUs grapple with on a daily basis, especially now. We wonder what to do when love knocks, and then we make a decision about what to do. We choose what we feel is responsible action. The trouble is, in her words, our understanding of doing something is based on the expectation of certain results or of definitive responses, and relies on controlling events and receiving a quick and predictable response. She continues, as a culture, we are shaped by an ethic of control, the assumption that effective action is unambiguous, unilateral, and decisive. I don't know about you, but holding this assumption has, for me, led to disappointment and feeling stuck more times than I can count. She invites us to live instead by an ethic of risk, which asks a different fundamental question. It asks, what improbable task with which unpredictable results shall we undertake today? What improbable task with which unpredictable results shall we undertake today? An ethic of risk is a way of living, in Welch's words, that begins with the assumption that we cannot guarantee decisive changes in the near future or even in our lifetime, and is propelled by the equally vital recognition that to stop resisting, even when success is unimaginable, is to die. Welch learned a lot from her experience in the feminist movement about progressive people's challenge to persist in the work of justice when faced with repeated failure and roadblocks. She noticed a pattern of affluent people falling into cynicism and despair and then detaching from the work. I have both noticed this pattern in my own organizing work, and I have also fallen into this pattern myself. How about you? Compelled by the contrasting ability of marginalized communities to continue resisting in the face of terrible odds, generation after generation, Sharon Welch came to her own grounding in an ethic of risk by following the lead of Black women and other women of color, by immersing herself in womanist thought, the works of Toni Morrison, June Jordan, Paul Marshall, Alice Walker, and more. Research into the narrative history of slave revolts and more contemporary Black radical thought, she came to the following realization. With an ethic of risk, action begins where much middle-class thought stops. Action begins in the face of overwhelming loss and the recognition of the irreparable damage of structural evil. The fundamental risk is the decision to care and to act, although there are no guarantees of success. At this moment in American history, I believe that living out Unitarian Universalist core values, equity, pluralism, generosity, transformation, interdependence, and justice with love at the center, that living these out in public requires that we take risks. It calls us to live into an ethic of risk, to act though much is at stake, and there is no guarantee of success. And of course, there's a difference between risk and perceived risk. A risk is the potential negative consequence of an action or inaction, and can include things like financial loss or hardship, legal consequences, conflict, damage to reputation, physical damage or violence toward people or property, spiritual, emotional, psychological harm. These are risks. We know these risks. Perceived risk is the assessment of a person or a group of the likelihood and severity of consequences that could result from taking or not taking a particular action. And our perception is shaped by our culture, our identities, our past experiences, our trauma history, and our level of privilege. You may have noticed that over the summer we had our sign out by the road painted in the colors of the progressive pride flag. It looks amazing. That was a project initiated by our children and youth and done in collaboration with the Social Justice Committee and a fabulous local artist. The decision to do that required that we have conversations about risk. Some people in the congregation felt that to be out and proud about our values, to announce to the world right by the road that we're a queer affirming congregation, is an invitation for harassment and vandalism. That it would be better, perhaps, to lay low and stay safe and secure. Others in this congregation felt that it is imperative that we be out and proud about our values, and while, yes, our sign might be vandalized, it is worth the risk for people to drive by and know that there is a faith community here that affirms their dignity and their rights. Neither are right or wrong, because there is no world in which risk does not exist. Our members afraid of vandalism are in touch with the realities of the political moment. Our members who want to paint the rainbow anyway are also in touch with the realities of this political moment. And some of us have a higher risk tolerance than others. The degree of risk we're able to take on without experiencing significant consequences, discomfort, anxiety, or fear. This, too, is shaped by factors related to identity, experience, culture, and history. Our personal risk tolerance influences our congregational attitude toward risk. Our predominant demographics and experiences impact congregational risk tolerance too. The sign is a great case study for this. Our UUA, Unitarian Universalist Association's Justice Branch, Side with Love, offers tools for congregational risk assessment too, and provides some other great examples to ponder. I'm going to share some with you. Think about where you might fall on a spectrum with the following examples. On one end, our congregation has a moral obligation to stay out of politics, to create a big tent where all beliefs are welcome. On the other end, our congregation has a moral obligation to take bold public stances about current and political issues such as abortion and LGBTQ rights. On one end, we should never draw from our endowment to fund justice work. The endowment is only to be used for dire emergencies related to the congregation. On the other end, current attacks on marginalized groups are an emergency, and we should tap into our reserves and/or endowment to meet the moment. One more, because this is cool. On one end, our congregation should avoid taking part or supporting any actions that could get us in legal trouble because we have an obligation to continue operating in order to fulfill our mission. On the other end, our congregation should be willing to risk taking actions that could bring legal consequences to individual members or the institution itself, because being a public moral voice for justice is a core part of our mission. This is what keeps me up at night. Welcome to my brain. We obviously don't have a chance to process these scenarios right now, but I sincerely hope that you will talk to one another, with our social justice team, our Friday afternoon action group, and even with our board about your thoughts and your perspectives on these questions. And that we all think about our own personal risk comfort and how that impacts the larger community. In a piece that she wrote to help Unitarian Universalists deepen their reflections on these kinds of questions, my colleague, the Reverend Elizabeth Wen, a community minister who works in the world of immigration justice, offers the following perspective. Some people with privilege and access to stability, like a steady income, reliable housing, documented immigration status, and resilience practices like therapy, good food, vacation time, weekends. Some people in these categories perceive risks of participating in direct action to be higher than they actually are. They are often taught to weigh the risks of action, but not the risks of inaction. They are often less experienced in how their courage and fear shows up. Some people with less privilege and with less access to stability and resilience practices are well practiced at risk assessment and the realities of the violence of inaction. They are often more experienced with how their courage and fear show up. She says the goal is always to live to fight another day. The goal is also to actually fight and not pretend we're fighting for justice when we are actually refraining from participating in meaningful work. This looks different for different people. This looks different for different people. I believe that risk assessment, that discernment about what actions our values call us to take or not to take, and what the risks of taking that action or not taking that action are for us individually and as a community, and for the advancement of justice and love, I believe that at its core is a spiritual practice. That is a practice of our faith. Assessing risk puts us in touch with our values in an embodied way. How will choosing equity in this way have an impact on my body, on my neighbor's child's ability to eat, or my own physical safety? These are embodied and fleshed questions of faith. The work of interrogating our own feelings of discomfort to see what is about safety and what is fear of being uncomfortable, that is deep and honest work. What we find isn't always a great look. And sometimes what we find blows our own minds because we are incredibly resilient people. The work of realizing that we are at great risk because we don't have a US passport, or because we have dark skin or speak Spanish, or our gender is confusing to people, or we wear hijab, or we're immunocompromised. The work of realizing we are at great risk is the work of self-compassion and often self-restraint. That is the work of living to fight another day. And nobody can make these decisions for us. Nobody can tell us when we are living from an ethic of control or an ethic of risk. Love knocks and waits for us to hear. Will we open the door, peek through the mail slot, or deadbolt ourselves inside? The decision is ours to make. The decision is ours to make. And I hope that while caring for ourselves and living to work toward justice for another day, and another day after that, and another day after that, I hope we will ask, even so, what improbable task with which unpredictable results shall we undertake today? May we be guided by our values and our faith in the knowledge that we are held in love as we navigate these questions one trapeze act, one step at a time. May it be so, and blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is number 168 in your gray book, or up on the screen, One More Step. Dale will play it through once, and then you're invited to rise on your feet or in your hearts as we join our voices in singing. After the benediction and extinguishing our chalice, you are invited to remain seated in silence for a time of reflection and integration while Dale offers the postlude. By calling us into wider circles of community, love empowers us to act. That feedback spiral of love, risk, trust, of relationship and community becomes the ground for the actions necessary for mutual liberation. And while we know we will never arrive at a perfect, beloved community, we call it into being whenever we accept risk and act in love, stronger and stronger with each call. Our worship has ended, and our service begins. Go in peace.